Chapter 6. It was the last fire day of the summer, the day of Myne's coming-of-age ceremony. The sun shone upon a cloudless sky, and the birds from the temple sang as they greeted the day. In homes all over the lower city, boys and girls donned their best blue-trimmed clothing and prepared for the momentous occasion. The boys would be men after today, and they wore the energy and vigor of their youth proudly. The girls would be young women after today, and so got to tie their hair up and decorated their hairstyles with flowers and ribbons. Within the confines of Myne's family home, Eva and Tuli helped Myne into her new dress. Tuli had practiced Myne's new updo countless times just for this day, so she was done braiding it and coiling it up in a snap. Eva finished the look by placing the hair stick Tuli had made on Myne's head. Her hand lingered for a moment on her youngest daughter's head, and she blinked away tears.
And last, but not least,
Tuli said, bringing a box and opening carefully.
Lord Eckhart's gift.
What manner of gift had her future lord prepared for this day? He'd forbidden her from opening it when he gave it to her, telling her to save the surprise for her big day. Myne's curious eyes were fixed on the box, and without knowing it, she held her breath as Tuli opened it. Nestled in white cloth was a teardrop pendant on a golden chain. The stone was a deep blue color, the color of sapphires from her life on Earth, and as the light struck it from different directions, sparkles of purple, turquoise, and dark pink shone from its depths. It was like there was a galaxy of multicolored stars inside it, and the color complemented not only her hair, but the shade of the dress she was to wear to the ceremony. It really was wonderful.
Lord Eckhart has such good taste.
Eva said, sighing as Tuli put it on her. Myne contemplated her reflection in the mirror. It suited her well, as expected. She was always so surprised at the kinds of gifts he brought her when he came visiting. He always brought her flowers, along with things to help her pass the time, items to adorn herself with, or sweets to share with the others. She was surprised at how a man like Eckhart, who did not seem to have much of a sensitive side to him, was so attuned with her preferences. It was mystifying, and she hated to admit it, but Lord Ferdinand had chosen well for her. Mom, Dad, Tuli, and Camille, they all complimented her once she emerged from her room. There were tears in her eyes, because they knew that after today she would be leaving them for the noble's quarter. But they put on brave smiles, not wishing to spoil Myne's special day with sadness. Kadir.
Oh, but it was as expected. My daughter is the most beautiful girl in the world.
Gunther said much too loudly.
Dad,
Myne said, smiling.
you said the same thing to when Tuli had her coming of age ceremony last year.
But it was true then, just as it is now.
He said energetically before wiping his tears with the sleeve of his shirt. They heard a faint signal bell from the courtyard.
It's time to go,
Myne said, smiling at her loving family, giving them a silent farewell. She did not want to go, but they'd gone through this time and time again. When the time came, it did not make it difficult for her. After all, it wasn't goodbye altogether. She would be able to welcome them as many times as she wanted in her new home, and she'd be safe and happy doing what she liked best, which was what mattered most to them. So, when Myne hesitated, her father laughed and urged her to join the rest of the others for the procession to the temple. Leaving home was bittersweet, just as leaving the temple had been the day before had been. Yesterday had been her last day as a temple shrine maiden. Myne had taken off her robes for the last time, and her attendants had cleared out the last of her belongings from the orphanage director's chambers. Still, she had left plenty of papers, quills, and ink for the priestess who was to take over her job. So just before she left for good, she told Fran, Rosina, Delia, and Gil, who were to join her in the nobles' district, to give her a moment alone. She joined them downstairs after she did one last thing. Once they were gone, she opened a drawer of her desk and gave in to a wild impulse. She wrote a letter. She'd written him countless letters since the winter, requesting an audience, but they had all been denied. She would try one more time, hoping to convey her feelings through a letter.
My Lord High Bishop, tomorrow is my coming of age ceremony, and will be the last day living as a commoner in the lower city. Lord Eckhart has assured me that all the preparations have been made for me and for my attendants to move in immediately to my new home. And he hinted that you had a hand in said preparations. For that, I thank you.
As Myne went down the stairs, she tried not to think of the many times she'd gone up and down those flights in her time living there. This home wasn't in the same neighborhood as the one where she, Tully, and Camille were born. It was just a few streets away from the central plaza, and was much cleaner and fancier, as befitting her family's rise in income and station. Still, this place had been home to her, and she had many happy memories of her time there. She emerged from the building into the bright exterior, where hundreds of people lined the streets to cheer the new adults. Lutz, who was also having his coming-of-age ceremony, was waiting for her at the door. She was still a terribly slow walker, so he had promised to stick beside her on their way to the temple so she wouldn't be trampled on. She had pouted at him, poking fun of her short stature, but Benno had laughed. Dear,
I be sure she makes it in one piece, Lutz.
Benno had said while Mark had held back a polite chuckle. Lutz had grown even more since the winter. How was he so impossibly tall? Not fair, but his jade green eyes were as nice as ever, and he smiled warmly at her. However, when he looked over her shoulder, his eyes grew impossibly softer. Myne had never seen him look at her like that, and realized when she looked behind her that it was Tully whom he was smiling at. Myne averted her eyes and stepped forward, figuring that Lutz could catch up with her after he and Tully said their hellos. She was not jealous. She wasn't. After all, she had nothing to be unhappy about.
I have always been blessed with wonderful family and friends, blessed with multiple chances at life, blessed with
Encountering
the right people at just the right time.
Lutz eventually caught up with Myne, and they walked together past the cheering crowds. There was Benno and Mark and all the apprentices at the door of the planting company. There was Karina, Otto, and their two daughters cheering for them as well. She passed Frida's house. Frida was no longer among them, but Myne was happy to see that her friend's family had also turned out to celebrate her growth.
I feel sad that after tomorrow I will have to leave many of those precious friends behind, but I can't count myself lucky for encountering them all just the same. I hope this is not news to you, but among all these encounters, I believe meeting you has been the greatest blessing of my life.
As Myne climbed the stairs up to the temple with Lutz by her side, she mused on how Grey-Fachan, the goddess of fortune, had always favored her. There had not been a single venture of hers that had never met with great success. And yet, when it came down to it, The one single failure of her life had been losing her precious friend, and nothing she had done had been enough to salvage that relationship.
Thank you for being unhalting and in
Or Weshlerin, I don't know.
it
Yeah.
you listen to me for being my teacher and guide. Thank you for saving my life multiple times, especially on those
Perilous.
previous occasions when we collected the Drove ingredients. Thank you for being the family and the friend I needed the most while living at the temple.
Okay. The High Bishop is entering the room, came a voice, and the door opened at the sound of many bells. Ferdinand, dressed in his ceremonial robes, stepped through, carrying the massive Bible in his hands and looking impossibly handsome as he strode forward with an air of authority. They had been among the last ones to enter, so she was stuck way at the back. But he had taught her how to enhance her eyesight using her mana, so that was enough for her to catch a good glimpse of him. She was not prepared for the wave of longing that hit her when she saw him and when she heard him speak.
I hope that when you return to the noble life, as you said you would, that you and I can continue to be friends for all the wonderful things that await me in my new life. Losing your friendship altogether would make it all meaningless.
No, she had lied in that letter, to him and to herself. She did not want to be his friend. She wanted him for more than that. She wanted for him to be her lord and master. She craved for him to claim her and possess her and take her entire body and soul. She had simply written that maudlin letter in hopes of stirring his heart, even if it was just a little. She'd been a fool, and seeing him now was the worst kind of torture. As Ferdinand told the assembled people to pray, she began to feel dizzy. How could she have been so stupid? After knowing that her affection was distasteful to him, why had she persisted? Regret and shame filled her entire being just as the light of his blessing shot out from his ring, in a beam so powerful and beautiful that she felt mesmerized by the glorious sight. And suddenly she felt herself falling. But she was not afraid, because among the tumult of her feelings, she could feel him so powerfully that she knew that she would be safe even if she collapsed. So she closed her eyes and let her body go limp, while in her mind the words she hadn't had the courage to add at the end of the letter came into her mind.
Please don't abandon me, for how do you expect me to live the rest of my life without you by my side?
End of chapter. Chapter 7, Coming of Age, Ferdinand Point of View. Brandon, are you ready for that? Honor Wolf.
Allow me to unmute myself and not just talk to myself.
All right, Honor Wolf. Okay. We are ready for you
I
to
am
do Ferdinand. You're
destroyer of
Ferdinand.
worlds, the killer of gods.
Okay.
All right.
Indeed.
Ugh. Gotta get my edge on. Ugh. My emo mode. Ugh. The seasonal ceremonies, from baptisms, coming of age ceremonies, and are not ritual, were tedious affairs to Ferdinand. Yet Though this was just another ceremony to perform, it was entirely different from all the other ones he had to perform as High Bishop. Acutely aware of Myne's presence, at the way back of the prayer hall, he recited the Bible story of Leidenschaft, god of fire. His role in the story of the seasons, and how he bestowed the blessings of growth on those born in the summer. As he spoke, he tried not to think about how, after a massive door opened, she would leave the temple for the last time and go live in her new home, in her new life as Eckhart's concubine. He tried not to think about the letter he left him, a letter which was now nothing but ashes. Regret gnawed at him. He could have handled the situation better, keeping a safe distance, since the winter had been for the best. As it was, her presence had not left him, since he'd begun to sense her manner, even when she went back to living with her family after spring prayer. Sure, it was more difficult, but it was definitely possible to feel her, even when she was in the lower city. Close his eyes and concentrate very, very hard to seek her out, until he felt her distant, like a far-off sun. And the easier it got for him to find her, the more certain he was that he was beyond the saving. Sometimes, however, he thought he was just fooling himself and imagining that he could sense her when she was so far away. He was hers and would forever be hers. Now it was time for the final blessing. Ordinarily, he would have the new adults kneel, but he somehow forgot to tell them to do so this time around. He sought Myne and found her standing at the way back. She was short, to be sure, but she was within view since she hadn't moved from her spot at the door, and between the two of them was a wide central aisle which gave him an unhindered view of her. She was lovely, so lovely. He found it hard to breathe, to draw a breath, when he dared to meet her gaze. But she also looked so young, despite having her hair up in a grown-up style that made her look more mature, and wearing a floor-length dress, as did women her age. He could plainly see that she was the same as the last time they'd been together, when she'd been stealing looks at him as they worked. Did you see that, Ferdinand? Magpie? Did you see that glaring
What?
error? And
Yeah,
wearing
it
a
happens.
floor-length?
It happens.
Okay. Just had to make sure. He sighed inwardly, pushing down the tumult of feelings inside him. He hoped with all his heart that despite everything she could understand, that everything he had done had been for her own good. Please, please be happy and live a life you always wanted to have, surrounded by books and your family and friends, and leading out the printing industry just as you wish. He began his prayer. Leidenschaft, God of fire, listen to my prayers and give blessings to them. As they become new adults, may they dedicate themselves to you. And now, he said in a commanding voice, give prayers and gratitude to the gods to receive their blessing. Every single person in the room stood in the praying position. As they prayed to the gods, blue light shone out from his ring and into the room, and a blessing unlike any he'd ever performed in his time as High Bishop shot out and rained upon those gathered. It was truly spectacular. When the sound dampening tools were deactivated, he could hear the excited cries and murmurs of awe from the holy site. But way at the back of the room, a commotion of an entirely different nature was taking place. A certain someone had collapsed. They led him into the room where she was resting, even though he could sense her and knew exactly where she was once there. He dismissed the gray shrine maiden who was looking after her, and he took a seat on the chair next to her bed. He was wondering if he should wake her when she stirred. Suddenly he was afraid. Okay. As if, what if he said something wrong? He said the wrong thing. What if she hated him and now wanted nothing to do with him? Those fears vanished the moment she opened her eyes and she smiled at him.
You're here.
I'm here. She extended a hand out toward him, and he looked at it, not knowing what she meant by it, until he realized with shock that she wanted to hold his hand. He frowned. She should know better than to ask that of him. But he grasped her small, soft hands in his anyway.
I just wanted to say,
She said, her voice sounding huskier than usual.
just in case you didn't get my letter, thank you, Ferdinand, for everything, and also thank you for not abandoning me.
Ferdinand squeezed her hand in his. Fool! I could never abandon you. I take my eyes off you and you end up collapsing. Who knows what you could do to the nobility if left alone? Her eyes filled with tears, and she laughed as they streamed down her face.
You're right. I'm hopeless without you.
I'm the one hopeless without. I'm the one that's hopeless. He gave her one hand one more squeeze. Rest. I'll have Eckhart come and get you when you're ready. The joy that had earlier dawned on her face, dawned in her eyes, faded at his words.
Eckhart, you're not coming with me?
He looked down at Myne and briefly lost himself in the depths of her eyes. And in that one breathless moment, he saw the potential future life they could have if he cast aside everything. Countless sun-filled days, working together and laughing over meals, keeping away the cold and the darkness of the long winter's evenings in a cozy home surrounded by friends and family. Quiet moonlit nights in her embrace, shared joys and sorrows until the end of their days. With all his heart, he wished he could be the one to take her to the place prepared for her, and, and in time be the one to care for her in every sense of the word. But his hands were tied. Politics and duty would not allow it. But above all, he had made a promise. So he made yet another vow, which would be as solemn as the first. I will give you what you asked of me in your last letter. You will always have my friendship. I promise to come to you anytime you need my help. You have my word, Myne. What's more, I will return to noble society after the Harvest Festival and help you navigate noble society. I expect that by then you will have settled into your new life. Show me what you can do with the opportunities you have been given. Myne was silent, and after a long pause, she slipped her hand from his grasp. He felt the loss keenly, but it was the way she turned her back on him and made herself into a small ball under the covers that finally broke his heart. End of part 1. Something tells me there's a part 2.
Oh yes, there's part 2s and 3s and 4s and whatnot.
I guess I'll be continuing this train of thought.
I think so far I am, as far as I've written,
Oh
we're
no,
at
it's
part
Lady
8.
it's Lady Elvira. My bad, I can step back.
Well, the next one is Lady Elvira, but this closes the first introductory chapters. So there's a little bit of a time gap between that and between this and the next chapter. Okay,
And how much of a time gap? You didn't even
maybe
say-
like a
wait,
month or
hold
so.
on.
About a month.
You should probably tell the readers that.
Yeah, they have the intuition to get it, but not
Do
all the
they?
same. All right. So yeah. Usually they ask in the comments and I answer there. So for this one, like if you go to the original webcomic, sorry, the original like not like novel,
You
not
might also
webcomic.
want to get rid of those ands.
So they have the do ask questions and I do answer them. But for the most part, they just tell me how much the story made them cry, or how much they think things
I
are
will say-
unbearable and whatnot.
This story truly shows me just how much of a hopeless romantic you are.
Where's the light? Yeah, that's true. So we got. I mean, this is my jam, you guys. This is what I live for. So
This is who you are.
this is
What
who
we
I
subscribe to.
am. This is who I am.
This is what I pay for.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say though,
What?
I gotta say though, when I'm comparing this Ferdinand with the original Ferdinand,
Yeah, I know.
they're both such in denial.
You are shameless.
Leave me
For making-
alone. This is called
You know how
this
shameless
is called
She would be
fanfics.
blushing like crazy.
These are
You
fanfics,
didn't
okay?
add for all the times his ears or whatever they want to say that his face would be blooming into redness.
Yes. So
He is a hopeless, unromantic sod.
Oh, be quiet! Don't you dare call
He
him
is
that.
a bumbling. He
Do
is a
not dare you-
bumbling romantic.
Yeah,
He doesn't understand his romance. And
look,
then
he
when
does
he
in this
finally
one.
sees romance, in the actual thing, he is a blushing bride.
Look at what you did, Magpie.
What did I do?
You've caused him to
Now-
start raging.
I know.
Now I
is
see him
great.
here, and he's a suave individual who understands. I'm like, what the fuck?
He's too conscientious and also not paranoid enough.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, what happened to my Ferdinand?
Leave me alone. This is my Ferdinand, okay?
We can talk about it afterward.
Let's do that. How about we?
You just wanted.
That's right. It is time for Akihana to take on the role of Elvira with me as narrator and Carwillin, and other characters are going to come up in the next chapter. But for now, it is chapter called The Newest Publication. I'm sure you guys wonder what's up with Elvira. So let's just do that. By the way, Patrick, I see you in the chat. Says, I wish I could join you, but work comes early. Have fun, everybody. See you all for chit chat tomorrow. Okay. Take care and hope to see you tomorrow. So let's do this. Do chapter 8, part 2, the newest publication, Lady Elvira. What is?
Oh, you did him dirty.
Chapter 8. Lady Elvira was having the worst sort of day. She dabbed at her forehead with a handkerchief, sweltering in the unexpected autumn heat.
Does it feel like Blatishev's very flames have descended upon us?
She muttered, her temples throbbing from the heat and the endless responsibilities weighing on her. Carwillin, her loyal attendant, approached her with a cool compress. "Milady, please take a moment to rest," she urged. Elvira waved her away.
There's no time for rest, Carwillin. Not that through the light badgering my husband about Nicholas Lambrick and Aurelia resolutely turning their backs in society, which only worsens their reputation.
She sighed heavily, her voice laced with frustration.
And there's the tea party earlier. He had the prime pleasures of a Carson's supposed interest in a third wife. It's all too much!
Carolyn nodded sympathetically. "You've been through a lot today. Perhaps you could rest your eyes, even if for just a moment." Elvira shook her head.
I trusted our Eckhart see me in such a state. No, I need to keep up appearances. Bring me something to read, will you?
Carolyn stood to fetch a book from the bookroom, but as she passed the writing desk at the corner of the room, she happened to see a bundle of what looked to be pages tied together. "Lord Cornelius seemed to be engrossed in reading this earlier," she wondered aloud, picking up the bundle. "Perhaps it is good reading material." Elvira didn't even bother to feign interest.
Perhaps,
she said, rubbing her temples.
No, he is his father's son. He may turn out to have more wit than I thought. What is it about?
Carwillin flipped through the pages, her brow furrowing. "I am not sure, my lady. It doesn't even have a leather cover. But it is made from plant paper, so I am sure it is one of the newest publications." Despite her headache, Lady Elvira perked up at that. She enjoyed the newest publications that Lady Charlotte's printing press was producing. It was a marvel to her how, with the newest industry, identical books with clear language and beautiful illustrations could be produced en masse and at a fraction of the cost of traditional parchment books. Because they were so accessible, not only arch-noble ladies like her, but med-nobles and even lay-nobles had access to those books, especially the serialized novels. She loved that she and all her friends could purchase their own copy, have it personalized with leather bindings of their choosing, though most lay-nobles chose not to due to the price, and they could meet during tea parties and talk about the newest release while speculating on where the story would go next. She thought she was fully caught up with the releases, but had Cornelius managed to get his hands on a new volume? Or maybe he was actually more interested in the knight's stories, which were excellent, but not as wonderful as the stories of the fictional kingdom of Kellerland.
To me, Carolyn. Let's see what has captured my son's interest.
"As you wish, my lady." Carwillin settled into a nearby settee, clearing her throat before she began. As she read, Elvira found herself engrossed in the story and more than a little surprised. She did not recognize the story at all. The writing style was entirely different from all the other printing press books she'd read. This was a tale of romance? Well, Cornelius was at that age, And with having to wait for his fiancée to finally come of age in a few years, it stood to reason that he would be very interested in these types of things, though never in her wildest dreams would she have imagined her son, an arch-knight, would be interested in a romance story. The story flowed surprisingly quickly, but as it progressed it became clear that it was not just any romance. It was a tale so risque that Lady Elvira couldn't help but blush at the descriptions of young men and women holding hands as they walked together. Why, they had come close to kissing 3 times already, only to be interrupted at the last possible moment. How very shameless! Cornelius was spending his free time reading books like these? She did not know what to think. On the one hand, she wanted to evaluate the book for its own merits. The prose was a little unimaginative. It could use some embellishment. And there was absolutely no finesse or subtlety in the way they described the feelings of the main characters. There was a shocking lack of praise and poetries to the gods, all of which were replaced by hyperbolic lines of admiration for the other's personal attributes. How very blasphemous to praise anyone but the gods in such a manner. And then there was the fact that her precious boy was reading such lewd things. Sorry, you cut off somewhere in there. Can you repeat it, please?
Sorry. Okay. Karen, that's enough.
Elvira said.
That better?
Yep, that was perfect. Elvira said, noticing her attendant's flushed cheeks and trembling hands. The poor thing was no doubt mortified after having read aloud such a detailed descriptions of hand-holding and hand-kissing. Elvira herself had not been able to take any more without wanting to fan her face.
We'll finish this later,
she said. Then she turned to see a servant at the door. Lady Elvira, Lord Eckhart has arrived.
What of my husband?
She asked, rising from her settee. Lord Carstead sent his apologies, my lady. He won't be joining you this afternoon. Elvira fumed.
The coward.
But at least Eckhart had made it. She straightened her gown, preparing to meet her son, but not without turning to her attendant first.
Karen, bring that book to my chambers. We'll continue after dinner.
As she walked towards the parlor to greet Eckhart, her mind raced. She needed to discuss the rumors she'd heard. Tonight, she would uncover the truth. End of chapter. All right, so I think...
Okay, is this...
Hold on a second. I think we have time for one more. What's up?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, if this book was the first book Myne showed Ferdinand in the original series?
Yeah, it's like Cinderella-ish. It's like one of those not Cinderella-ish, but you know how it's like those girly girl novels? That's it. It's basically that book.
Didn't she actually try to write a contemporary romance of her own creation, only to be rejected by Ferdinand?
Yes.
This is the one?
This is the one. Except that she wrote this, and since Ferdinand was basically avoiding her, she didn't run it by him. So she's just like, let me just write this thing and publish it. So it got in the hands of Cornelius of all people.
Oh, quite literally, my prize writing is making Elvira blush.
You?
Pun intended.
You guys, we have time for one more chapter, and it is the Eckhart chapter. So, you guys ready? Kadir, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
This doesn't mean race to the finishing line. Take your time.
I don't do that intentionally.
Okay, just you can do it. I know you can. And so right now it's going to be Eustace will be read by Little Butterfly. Eckhart. Actually, Little Butterfly, do you mind, Crusher, since you haven't read, are you here? Do you want to read? And Little Butterfly, would you be okay with giving up your role?
I would be okay giving it up.
Okay, just because Crusher hasn't read. Crusher, do you want to read
Someone call
Eustace?
me.
Chapter 9.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
sure.
cool. All right, pull it up. You have it?
Yes, I do.
Okay, awesome. Then we're ready to read Chapter 9. This is Kadir will be reading it. He is Eckhart for this read. And
Yep.
we continue
The
on.
narration and the dialogue.
Yes, indeed. All right, go.
So, are you ever going to tell Lady Elvira about your goddess of water, Eckhart?
Eustace's tone was light, but his eyes held a hint of seriousness as they left the temple to Noblegate after completing an errand for Lord Ferdinand. They hadn't seen each other since summer's end, when Myne had settled into her new home and they'd completed the task their master had assigned them. Back then, Eustace had congratulated Eckhart with a sly grin back then before summoning his winged cow and leaving Eckhart shimmering with irritation. The old rascal.
Sooner or later, the rumor of her eldest son setting up a lavish establishment for an unknown lady is going to reach her ears.
Eustace said, dropping all semblance of humor.
It would be best if it came from you, no?
Eckhart sighed. You're right, I've been putting it off. It's not exactly an easy topic to bring up, and I also rarely get the chance to visit my mother. But my father called me home today for some family matters, so I'll tell her then. Oh, Justus clapped a reassuring hand on Eckhart's shoulder. He knew that the Linkberg's family squabbles were a source of constant grief to Eckhart.
Very well. Now, about this assignment from Lord Ferdinand. Will you send your ordnance about what I find out from my lower city investigations? You take care of the rest, yes?
Eckhart nodded. Understood. Don't enjoy yourself too much out there. Justus gave a short laugh, promising nothing, and rode away on his high beast towards his home to get to his lower city rack, no doubt. Eckhart saw his friend go, wondering how he could even stand a moment in that filthy place, but shrugged. He was such an odd fellow, but he was very good at his work, so who was he to judge? Eckhart summoned his own high beast and flew towards the knight's barracks. He spent the rest of the day at the barracks. He got a glimpse or two of his father, but ordinarily they did not treat each other as family while at work, so bringing up the subject of the afternoon meeting was out of the question. At the end of the good day's training, he left the barracks with some friends and spent the rest of the day in their company until it got close to the time he was supposed to go home. Ordinarily, he would have just gone on as he was, but after many months of visiting a certain young lady, it now felt wrong to arrive without having made an extra effort, so he asked his friend if he could purchase some flowers from his family garden, since his friends' families were keen horticulturists.
Yeah.
Horticulture.
Horticultures.
Yes.
Horticulturists.
Also,
His friends
dang,
did not.
that was a run-on sentence.
His friend did not even bat an eye at the request. Eckhart was already a regular customer, after all, and so he made his way home with a pretty bouquet to present his young, suffering mother. The sight of his home always gave him a sense of dread, but he found comfort in seeing the familiar servants of his childhood, and they welcomed him as warmly as ever. Despite arriving at the exact time of his appointment, he was made to wait in the downstairs parlor. He sat in a chair, but unable to stop fidgeting, he stood and began to pace the room. He felt fidgety and ill at ease more than the occasion called for. His father had summoned him. There was absolutely nothing to worry about other than the usual family drama, right? His instincts were saying otherwise. His body was itching to flee. Flee what? He heard the sound of heeled slippers on the outside hallway, and he went still. His mother had come to him. It was too late for him to run. She was at the door, smiling at him in a way that meant he was in trouble. He went tense, but as but as he remembered that he was holding something in his hand, with a trembling moment he presented the bouquet of flowers he bought for her. Please accept this peace offering. Despite looking a bit pale and tired, his mother insisted that they will take a walk outside. She linked her arm through his, and the two stepped into the garden. The sun beamed down relentlessly, so Eckhart made sure as they walked down the avenue of stately trees that she always in the shade and that he was always the one on the side of the direct sunlight. As they walked, Elvira shared her frustrations dealing with the challenges she faced in managing their household and navigating the treacherous currents of noble products. politics. She told him about all the minitudes of her life, the faction politics, and even told him about her own challenges in keeping this second wife in place. The woman who had been part of the old Veronica faction did not seem to realize that she could not ask for more than she already had been so graciously given. She should be lucky that she was still alive. Eckhart listened to the same complaints and sighed internally. He wished for once that each time he met his mother that she wouldn't spend the bulk of her time telling her about these things. What was he to do about it anyways? The next topic of conversation turned to his brother Lamprecht. Unfortunately, he was forever branded as an old Veronican despite their family's ties to Hazendal and Leslie gang. He and his wives were practically pariahs now, and were making no efforts to remedy the situation. Their child was to be baptized soon, and since Aurelia had flat out stated that she was not going to show her face during that event, it was up to Elvira to salvage the situation and be the one to rally the servants to plan the event. And basically take Annalene under her name so that
Adelaide.
she would not live Adelaide
Mhm.
under her name so that she would not live tainted by his parents' reputation. Was that not a bit too much? Eckhart sighed in sympathy with his mother and was asking too much of her to plant and reply. No, sorry. Yeah, Eckhart sighed.
Uh-oh.
What happened?
What's up? Oh, probably there's something going on.
I did hear some
My
background
parents,
noise
Should
earlier.
I?
my dad was yelling at me to go walk the dog soon, but I have enough time to finish this chapter.
Finishing the
Should I
chapter.
take over?
Yeah. Eckhart sighed in sympathy with his mother. It was asking too much of her to plan and prepare for such an event when she already had so much on her plate. And then Cornelius. Eckhart stifled his laughter as his mother told him of the reading material he was consuming. The poor fool. What had possessed him to bring such a thing home and then leave it lying around? He was just asking for trouble. Although, truth be told, it was much too sloppy and uncharacteristic of him. He was a knight just like me, just like he and Lamprecht, but he surrounded himself with Audley's son and his friends, all of them known for their rather biting wits, but Cornelius had picked up many bad habits and attitudes from his cynical best friend, and Eckhart did not quite approve of that. At heart would also push this kind of reading material on his little brother. At least this is something I can help in. I will talk to Cornelius about this, mother, he said, and patted her hand assuringly.
You rich Mitford.
Little does he know.
Throwing
What
him
has
under the
Wait,
bus.
Rosemine
is it?
done?
Uh,
Oh,
oh,
I
Hmm?
so after the chapter.
after. Yeah, after.
yeah. Oh,
Elvira said and
Elvira.
looked up surprised, and for a moment he caught a glimpse of real relief and gratitude in her dark eyes, but she shook her head.
Thank you for offering, but I believe I need to talk with him about this. In case he has questions, you see.
Poor Cornelius. He was in for the most embarrassing talk with others. Eckhart expected that the conversation would turn to usual complaints about his father's prolonged absence and the rumors about him taking a third wife. Rumors which he honestly wished were just that and not actually based on facts. But instead, Eckhart turned the topic of conversations to himself.
Also wanted to ask you about something else, Eckhart. I've heard rumors about you setting up another establishment for a young lady.
Eckhart sighed, realizing the moment he'd been dreading had finally arrived. I was going to tell you today, mother. Elvira's eyes narrowed, her curiosity piqued.
Who is she? Who is her family? Where did you meet? Is she a child? Is she of childbearing age? Where is she set up? Is she good to you? Did you consult with your father, scholar, before drawing up the contract? When will I meet her?
Mother, one question at a time, please, Eckhart said. And so she dragged the full story from him. There was absolutely no resisting her. He told her the truth about Myne. He told her that she was a commoner girl with a devouring, how she was Ferdinand de facto ward, and how she was both rich in mana as well as money, and what was more, she was behind many new industries that were raising their duchy's rank higher and higher each passing year. He told her how Ferdinand had basically set her up in a lavish house, but as he was retired from nobility and would continue to live in the temple as High Bishop even after his return to noble society, he needed to have a trusted person to look out for her, and how Eckhart had been chosen for that task. And that's all there is to it, Mother. Elvira sighed.
We can have children together.
Mother! Eckhart exclaimed.
This is important, Eckhart. You're your father's heir. But excuse me. You're your father's heir. But after there's no heir.
No, Mother. You conveniently keep forgetting that because I gave my name to Lord Ferdinand, I cannot inherit. Lambert or Cornelius will become father's heir, and besides, this is all besides the point. My contract with Myne is entirely businesslike. She's my water goddess in name alone, and that won't ever change.
If the girl falls in love.
Eckhart almost laughed. Myne? In love? That won't happen. She's lovely and accomplished, and I realize that I made her sound like quite a catch. But I assure you, Mother, she has no interest in marriage or anything that is not related to books and the printing industry. Elvira blinked.
The printing industry? What do you mean?
Oh, did I not say? She's the inventor of the printing press.
But Lady Charlotte.
Is the face of the industry who is responsible for spreading the industry to other duchies for the enrichment of our own. But Myne was the genius behind it, and many, many other things. But due to magic contracts, I cannot tell you the details. Suffice it to say that she's truly incredible, and keeping her safe in Ehrenfest and living in relative obscurity is the safest option for her. Lady Elvira sighed.
This makes this more difficult then.
What do you mean?
I heard she's amassing a faction of her own.
What? Impossible! She hasn't even been living in the noble districts for half a season.
I wish I were lying, but it's the truth. There is an unofficial ladies faction that is fast gaining influence in the Nobles district. But it's not limited to real nobles. There are few neutral net nobles, as well as disgruntled Veronicans, including arch nobles, that have been seen at these meetings as well.
Eckhart felt a cold at the news. Lord Ferdinand is not going to like this.
It is imperative she join our faction, Eckhart, before she is crushed out.
Is it that bad? Elvira nodded.
It's not in her best interest to keep the girl hidden for now. When the right time comes, she must be introduced to society, and she must be seen to be loyal and friendly to Lady Charlotte and Lady Florentia. It's the only way.
But she's no noble, Mother.
Then marry her and introduce her to society as her second or third wife. With that rank, she'll be more than respectable enough to join us and carry on whatever ventures she wants. This is something only you can do, Eckhart, and it is extremely important. Ordinarily, I didn't even have bothered to tell you this, but since you say Lord Ferdinand is her mentor and guardian, I'm willing to help.
But...
And another thing, my dear,
she said smilingly as he struck her finishing blow.
I will meet her. Please arrange it for me, won't you?
End of chapter. Okay.
That was a good read.
Yeah, any Elvira chapter will always be a good read, honestly.
I think there's bias. I think there's bias from the writer.
Yeah, I mean, the writer does say that any chapter that whenever I wrote Elvira, I was having a blast. If you want to say I have a self-insert character, it's probably Elvira. I don't know.
I might have to kill an Elvira in the future.
You want to read Elvira
in
one
that
day?
Case,
I wonder.
in that
I
case,
wonder,
not fun.
Oh wait.
yeah, something I was saving for after the chapter was how bad do you think like Cornelius is in a position in terms of embarrassment?
Very bad.
It's like
I wouldn't want to be in his shoes.
It's
it's
like,
like what would be the what would be the real life equivalent?
oh, you know what's the real life equivalent, and stop
No,
right there.
would it be just a magazine, or was it like an R18 figurine?
I don't know. I think it would be a magazine for sure. Yeah. So, but let us stop there. I kind of know that the conversation deviates when we bring that up. But yeah, it's pretty naughty stuff. So
And I just love how like you wrote it to hint like Justus is just going to tease the shit out of him.
yes, Eustace is basically that character. We will have more Eustace. We will have the story of Cornelius and how he came about to have that book. But that's a little later, so...
Yo,
What do you mean, no?
what are you doing to Ferdinand in
I
number
just-
12?
I just wanted to ask.
Mhm.
I just wanted to ask Elvira. Elvira. I just wanted to ask Magpie. As Elvira is your supposed self-insert character, did I do her voice justice?
You did it justice. You did do very, very well. Very good, as Ferdinand would say, very good. Now, everybody did so good.
No.
Everybody
No,
did
he
so
would've
well.
said,
One
just
thing
give
I
you a
like,
nod.
Oh gosh, some people stop talking over each other. Okay, Underwolf and then Kadir.
You would give her a nod. A very good is too high.
Oh, well. Well, the good thing is she asked me. So that's what I said.
I would say
Kadir.
one thing I really like about this chapter is just I just like teasing in general, and it's like this style of writing seems to put like really good quality in that stuff. So yes, I very much like this.
Okay, I'm glad you do because I did try to intersperse like a little bit of like that kind of tone between chapters. So it's not all like part one. There is a lot of this stuff too. So if you enjoyed it, just keep on reading because there's more of that. The next time we read, we're gonna see Myne meeting Lady Elvira for the very, very, very first time. Oof, what's gonna happen between these two? And also, there's a situation about the faction. Apparently, Myne, without knowing it, has been amassing a faction. So what's that all about? I leave it to you guys to guess and what it will be. We'll get answers a little later. Also, soon enough, we will
My
get...
guess is...
I will not confirm or deny,
My
so to
guess
say
for
whatever
that-
you want.
Yeah, my guess is that perhaps Frida was behind that. Maybe she was visiting some nobles and then making her own book club behind Myne's back.
Maybe. You guys
That's
still
my-
remember? Yeah.
That's my theory.
Yeah, because
Maybe
remember
it was
that...
all Hannelore is doing.
No, Hannelore does not appear here yet. Or here. So let us remember that Myne and Frida. So Frida came of age in the winter. So she started setting up a business. And remember, Myne and Frida are going to go together in business once they're both in the noble's quarter. So that's probably it. I don't know. Who knows? All right, you guys. So
It's kind of condescending when the author tells you this.
I don't know how much you guys want me to ask to like answer your questions. See, I'm trying to navigate that fine line, but it's impossible. I don't know. There's no making
How about
anybody
you
happy
say,
here.
I cannot confirm or deny anything.
Yeah, there you go. I cannot confirm or
Just
deny
teasing
anything.
you.
There you go. I know you guys are full of mischief, so there you go. So yeah, I hope
Living
you
up to
join
the
me.
name.
Hope you guys join us on the next read along. Thank you again to all of you who read. We had Akihana who read, Tuli, Aoife, Elvira, and also Butterfly who was Myne, as well. Oh no, you gave up Eustace. Crusher was Eustace. We had Kadir who read one-liners of Benno and Gunther. And Eustace, thank you. And also to Honorwolf who read Ferdinand. and well, you were supposed to have done the temple attendance, but since you kind of just were distracted, I read it for you.
You were quicker. You were quicker than I.
I waited for like 10 seconds. There was no honor wolf, so I was like, okay, fine, I'll just read it. All right. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys, and thank you for joining. And of course, thank you to Teal, who has been the scholar who has been highlighting these things. Thank you, Teal, so much. I hope that next time I can schedule one. Yeah, I hope that next time I can schedule it at a time when you can join us. But anyway, I'll see you guys probably, most likely Wednesday. 75% chance we will have a read along on Wednesday. So I'll see you there, you guys. Thank you for joining me. Bye.
Hooray for vacation.
Bye.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, like after the reading.